Christian Miller.
It's time for the Miller's Edge with four-time SEC champion and two-time national champion Christian Miller.
Once again with Christian Miller taking him down.
Here's college football playoff national champion Christian Miller on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
And welcome into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are ready for a very action-packed day. And I say it like that because, number one, we've got two guests lined up for today. At 11:30, we will hear of SEC Network, cover all things Alabama athletics. You got baseball, softball going on. You got the NCAA March Madness tournament tipping off. You got Alabama in there playing Hops. How do you pronounce the name, Chase? You know I'm terrible at pronunciation sometimes, man. Pronounce their name for me, please.
Hofstra.
Hofstra. Is that good? Hofstra?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll go with that for now. Chase, a little history lesson for me, man. Hofstra, man. Where are they at? Who are they? You got any good details for us, man? Because I'll be honest, I've never heard of Hofstra until we got matched up with them.
Yeah, so they're located in New York. They are a private institution, I believe a research to be specific. They're a good basketball program. They've done pretty well this season. I don't see them doing too well against Bama because it's two different styles, two different speeds. I would say Bama's guard plays a lot better, even with Aden Holloway not in the lineup right now. But yeah, Hofstra's good, but you'll see a difference in styles come tomorrow.
Well, we'll definitely be on the lookout. Now, I'm very cautious about letting you give us a full breakdown here. Now, notice I said some details. I had to stop you right there, Chase. The history so far, man, with your breakdowns, with whether it's women's basketball, men's basketball, we don't fare too well. So we'll leave it at those details. Thank you, Chase, for that. We definitely greatly appreciate it. I'll give you a hard time, man. I will say this. You mentioned Aden Holloway. We will talk about Aden and that situation a little bit later in the show. At the top of the hour, we will be joined by our official legal expert here on the show, Adam Lampereello. He'll join us like he does every Thursday at the top of the hour. But we're going to discuss this case with the legal expert. And you guys know I'm not very comfortable talking about guys' personal stuff really publicly like that. But to be fair, I mean, this is a very public case at this point, and I feel like there's been some more information coming out. And listen, we have a legal expert on the show. I feel like it would, be a disservice not to ask him kind of his thoughts on this whole matter. He gave us his thoughts on the Charles Bediako case, and I feel like he was spot on with everything he said. That's why Adam is the best in the business. So I do want to discuss that with Adam a little bit later on the show. Just get his thoughts on this legal process, how it could, turn out, what we kind of can expect a little bit, I guess, from that whole situation regarding Aden Holloway, which of course we definitely are wishing for the best, personally for him. But we'll talk with Adam about that here coming up. But in the meantime, if you guys see the stream title, I titled it, "Has Alabama's Culture Shifted?" I also threw in the SEC win total predictions because I want to piggyback off of a little bit of what we talked about yesterday, but look at some of these other teams as well. Get y'all's thoughts, get our guest thoughts as well. But part of the reason I mentioned that the culture shifting, and I know a lot of you guys already starting to answer in the comment section here on our streams at the Miller's Edge on YouTube, X, and also Facebook, Title 100.9. I wasn't even really so much mentioning that for the football team itself, believe it or not. This one's a little bit different, Chase. Get this. I've noticed since these SEC win total predictions have been released, Alabama's sitting at 8.5. That's definitely been a talking point across college football. Not just Alabama, but all these teams in general. But when you look at Alabama and you see a win total being 8.5, it feels a little off. At least, to me, and I think a lot of fans. Until you really deep dive and look at this football team, you discuss the question marks, the new faces, the things that they're going to have to improve on this upcoming season. And I think you start to understand why that number might be the way it is. Again, it means nothing. It's a preseason number, literally just a prediction that FanDuel and other sports betting services come up with, right? Gets the conversation going, gets the money flowing, gets the bets going. We know how that goes. However, one thing that I've noticed, Chase, is that there still are a lot of Alabama fans that when they see that 8.5 and when they hear people talk about their predictions, and whether it's me talking about, hey, I think 9-3 kind of sounds like it could be that type of year this upcoming season. Again, totally my opinion. Not saying that happens. I can't predict the future like some of these folks that comment on these videos that tell us we don't know what we're talking about. Everything they say is what's going to happen. What we're saying is just a bunch of nonsense. Regardless, no one knows what's going to happen. But that said, shout out to Cleo, right? Because she was one that had mentioned, I believe, on one of the comments, not in a bad way, but she was talking more so about kind of the fans' outlook. And then I also had seen, I think Clint had posted some stuff with Cover Crimson. I saw a number of responses kind of talking about this. But basically what I'm getting at is, Chase, is, you have a bunch of fans that still say, hey, we don't care who the coach is, what year it is, what's going on with NIL, if there's a new quarterback, if the team is, 70% new in terms of starters on off, like they don't care about any of that. Their expectations are we need to go 11-1 in the regular season. We need to play in the SEC championship game every single year. We need to make a deep playoff run. We need to damn near be in the national championship game every year. Doesn't matter that coach retired, doesn't matter anything, all these factors that factor into things now. And so what got me thinking was, I'm like, on one end, I feel like and I've talked about this before, I really think you'd be better off kind of shifting your perspective, right? Now, that doesn't mean you're lowering your standards or lowering your expectations for Alabama. No, I genuinely just feel it's a matter of, hey, you're kind of readjusting, you're recalibrating those expectations to the new norms of college football. But I understand Alabama's always been held at a higher standard than any other program. We all can agree on that. But I just feel like moving forward, with the parity now that we have with NIL, I'm not saying we're not keeping up, but I'm just saying, I mean, there's more talent dispersed throughout college football than ever. And then when you look at this football team going into this season, it's not necessarily, that you're doubting them. It's not that you're saying that you lack respect for this team or this staff and what they might be able to accomplish this year. It's just, hey, typically it's a little bit of an uphill battle when you got a new quarterback name that hasn't started before. You got a whole new offensive line with a bunch of new faces, a bunch of young guys that haven't started. So what I'm getting at is when I talk about this culture being shifted, basically what Cleo had mentioned in the comment was, what is up with all this fans being okay with a 9-win season, right? With Alabama losing 3 games. And so the reason I'm asking this question is, are we seeing a culture shift, Chase, with I'm more so referring to the fan base, right? Because there are more fans that are kind of agreeing maybe with kind of my perspective or others' perspectives, right? I think Clint also was, very similar in terms of saying, hey, like, it just feels a little bit like it could be a 9-win type season. And the fact of the matter is, I mean, if you look at the whole picture, you're kind of okay with that, right? I don't think that means you're any less competitive. I think you're just kind of being a little bit of a realist when you look at the information, the facts, right? So that's kind of what I want to lean into that a little bit. Get y'all's thoughts on that. Like, has Alabama's culture shifted? Not so much the team. We can talk about that too. That's definitely a great conversation as well. We've heard from, several coaches so far through spring ball, several players. We can talk about that portion, but I really want to talk about really from like the fan base perspective. Like, is Alabama's fan base, quote unquote, becoming soft? Which that would include me, because I'm one of the ones that said I would be okay with a 9-win type season this upcoming season, just because to me, I feel like that's just, readjusting my expectations and understanding the whole picture. Am I becoming soft, or the other fans that are okay with the 9-win season here in Tuscaloosa? Are we becoming soft as a fan base because we're recalibrating? Or is that just, I guess, preparing ourselves for the new norm in college football? That's what I want to get y'all's thoughts on. 205-342-9904. Again, we got Gray Robertson at 11:30. We'll talk all things Alabama athletics. March Madness, we'll talk some softball. They're still crushing it. Baseball, things are looking a little rocky over there. And then at the top of the hour, we will be joined by our legal expert, Adam Lampereello of Lampereello Law Education and Advocacy. We'll get the latest on the Aden Holloway case and what that might look like for him and this Alabama men's basketball team. That's what we got on par for today. I think my dad's going to join us as well. So we got a very busy show, a show full of very interesting topics, a lot of good conversations. So make sure you guys are ready to dive into it. Again, 205-342-9904. Excuse me, is the phone number. If you guys want to jump in on the conversation, I see we got folks lining up. We'll go to the phone lines off the rip. As soon as we come back from this quick timeout, we'll go ahead and go to the phone lines. I think we got Carson lining up and others. So we'll try to get those in as quick as possible before we talk with Robertson, and then we'll keep on rolling from there. But again, the main question right now, at least while we're talking, is has there been a culture shift recently, really amongst the fan base of Alabama, right? Are we becoming a little soft? And I'm including myself in that because I literally am one of the ones saying, hey, I'm okay with a 9-win type season, given, you know, the uphill climb that we might have with our current situation with our roster, right? Knowing that 2027 might be a little bit, you know, more, I don't know, put together for a little bit deeper of a run. Just my opinion, not saying that's what happens, but just kind of feels like that. Want to get y'all's thoughts. We'll do that on the other side of this break right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
My car smells fresh, always so fresh every day.
What's up, guys? So I got a dog that's like, man, he is doing this thing where he is obsessing over my other dog, and they're both males, by the way, but he will not stop whining, just wanting to get to my other dog. I had to separate him because he just will not stop bothering him, man. So I'm over here like trying to keep him cool, trying to read the chat, trying to speak and do all these different things. But anyway, what's up, guys? What we got going on? Jake, what's up? Happy Thursday, brother. Short answer, yes. Crimson Dad says times have changed as well. Hope all is well, everybody. New era in college football. Right, so you're kind of along the mindset of, you know, myself and a lot of others. I feel like are starting to kind of, well, for me, I wouldn't even say starting to. I said even from year one when Coach DeBoer got here, I expected 9-win type season. It was his first year. You know what I mean? I understood that. I feel like this year for me, I have similar thoughts, except it's not that it's his first year, but it's more so his first year with his guys, first year with a lot of young talent, right? A lot of young guys that he recruited. Not saying they can't build off what they did last year. I just feel like they have a little bit of an uphill challenge. That said, since that's the approach we took and we didn't elect to get more veteran type players that are plug and play guys, we elected to lean into the homegrown guys that we had on roster. I'm just, I guess, fixing my expectations accordingly. So I guess that's another thing you could build off of that. I mean, if you want to take it there and say, hey, why didn't they build this team a little bit more maturely going into year 3? I'll go there with you guys because I agree 100%. To me, if it doesn't go as well, and it does end up looking like, hey, man, we really could have benefited from some of these veteran players maybe that were in the portal, I'm not going to disagree with you because I actually agree 100%. Now, tune during the portal period was kind of like, man, like, I can't say I feel like we really crushed the portal period. Now I see that their philosophy is, hey, we really want to rely on our guys that we recruited and give them a chance. I hope that works out, but I'm not going to lie. If it doesn't work out great, people are going to question, I guess, the philosophy and the approach that they took this offseason. I have no problem getting on board with that because I agree 1,000%. But given that we did have that approach, that's why I'm kind of fixing my expectation. Just my thoughts, but I'm definitely curious what you guys think, man. Army, what's up? Greetings, Christian. Hope you're doing well today. Greetings, everyone in the chat. Yeah, what's up, man? Good to have you back in there, man. Everything's well. Can't complain, man. Another day, another dollar. Just blessed to be able to chop it up with you guys. Jake says, I wouldn't say we're soft. I think we have guys like you and Clint who can put things into perspective that 11-1 every year isn't really a thing. Patriotic, what's up, man? Good morning to you, sir. I appreciate that. Yeah, and look, I mean, it's not that it can't happen. I want to be clear. It's not that can't happen. It's just consistently, I just think it's tough. Now, I think you definitely can do a little bit more to help yourself have a little bit more consistency with that. And part of that is, I mentioned this, I think when we got off air, so maybe not all of you guys heard this, but this is my thing. I love the approach of recruiting really good high school talent, maintaining that talent, retaining that talent, and developing that talent. I love that approach. However, if I had to nitpick, I would say you have to balance that a little bit better with the guys that you're bringing in. I know they're really really happy and excited about the players that they brought in, but if we're just calling a spade, we could have made a few more moves in the transfer portal or had a little bit different of approach. And I think if you can balance that a little bit better, by going and getting more proven guys or more players that you're like, hey, this guy is going to come in and directly make an impact. If you balance that with the high school players that you're recruiting at that rate, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying if you can, I think that's the perfect recipe personally. I think that'd be the perfect recipe. So we'll have to see how this year plays out, but hold on, we're about to come back. And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. All right, let's dive into it. We're going to go straight to the phone lines, Chase, because I know we got Gray Robertson coming up here in about 11 minutes. But again, right now, we're talking about the culture here in Alabama. Not so much the team. We can talk about that too. I'd love for you guys to chime in on that too, for sure. But more so kind of the fan base and kind of how fans are viewing this upcoming season, right? Because the win totals are coming out. That's leading to a lot of discussions. A lot of discussions about, hey, Alabama looks like it could be a 9-win type year for this football team. Some fans are saying, hey, we've adjusted our expectations. We understand. Other fans saying, hell no. It don't matter, Chase. We don't care about none of all the extra stuff. We want 11-win football team every single year. Does that mean we're getting soft and we're accepting those 9-win seasons when it just makes sense? I don't know. You guys tell me. All right, real quick, let's go to the phone lines, 205-342-9904. We got Carson up first. Carson, welcome in.
What's up, man? How you doing today?
Man, I can't complain, man. Everything's great. How's everything with you, brother?
Good, man. Just getting through it. We got 30-degree weather, so I don't understand it in South Louisiana.
Where are you at?
New Orleans.
There's no way you're in New Orleans and it's 30 degrees?
Brother, it was 35 this morning.
Maybe y'all got the back half of what we got. Me and Chase got that out the way like 2 days ago, man. We're back in the 60s, brother. So I'm not trying to rub it in, but now I feel a little bit like Smitty. I get a chance to brag a little bit. We're in the 60s this morning right now, at least right now. So I'm feeling good, man.
It's insane. It's insane. It's last year we got 11 inches of snow. That doesn't make any sense. So, yeah. Yeah, so
it sounds like the voodoo ladies down there might have put a spell on that town. That don't sound right, man. 11 inches of snow, you in the 30s, brother. I don't know, man. They might have been doing some stuff in the streets down there in Bourbon.
Bro, it's opposite day. I don't know, opposite month. But I will talk a little bit about the expectations. I tell you. I think the culture has shifted, but I don't think that people are fully aware of the landscape. I think if anybody says that they have an expectation that holds true to what it was with Nick Saban, and this is no discredit to Nick Saban. And what I'm about to say is the expectation that we had under Coach Saban. I mean, he's the GOAT. There's no doubt that he's the GOAT, but the expectation was that high because I always felt, this might just be personal to me, but I always felt going into every season under Coach Saban that our roster was better than other rosters. Simple as that. I mean, so at the end of the day, the coaching job could be the coaching job, but we had the players at every position, 3 deep, next man up mentality, where we were still supremely talented compared to the teams that we were going up against, even in the SEC, week in, week out. That's no longer the case. I mean, we'll find out very, very early in the season when we go to Lexington to play Kentucky, and then people are going to be really, really surprised by that game and seeing how good Kentucky actually is. Vanderbilt, that would have never happened 6 years ago. 10 years ago, that would have never happened. And so you look at a team like Indiana, and that's the proof, right? That a team like Indiana can win a national championship. That's the landscape. That epitomizes the landscape. So I don't think that it's fair to put this 10-win, 11-win, goal or number on our season. And if we don't hit that, then, it's a failure, divorce sucks, blah, 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 whatever you want to hear. I think 8.5 is fair. You look at all the replacement. I mean, you're replacing every linebacker position. You have basically a brand new defensive line, a brand new offensive line. You have a brand new quarterback. I mean, come on, man. Like, do I think that we can get to 10 wins? Absolutely. I think if these guys come out in best case scenario and address all of the issues that, we had before and we correct everything, yeah, the team has the potential. They have talent. It's not that. It's that, we got to get those things fixed. And I think if you're a betting man, to say that you fix every single thing and it's just performing like a well-oiled machine from game one, I think that's kind of crazy. I don't know if that is realistic, and I would agree with you. But I think the culture has changed a little bit, but I think it's people really not really understanding what's going on in college football. It hasn't hit them yet, or they don't care, which I think it's kind of silly to not care about what's going on in college football, because even if Nick Saban was the coach now, I still don't think that the expectation might be really, really high, but I don't think that the product is super, super different in terms of just win-loss total. I mean, genuinely, I don't. And that's no discredit. Like, I just think that's the landscape. Teams are better. Everybody's better. And we said it last year. 9-3 is the new 10-2. So I mean, it's just because of the parity. There's so many teams that there's so much player movement. These teams are better now. They're able to get guys because they can pay guys. And I don't really buy into all of the I don't know, the tough talk from fans where it's like, oh, if we don't do this, this guy needs to go, blah, 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 whatever. The only thing that I can judge my opinion off of is what are they saying after exit meetings or into the season? What are they talking about in the media to our reporters? What is their goals? And I can only take them at their word thus far, but it seems to me that there is an emphasis on the things that need to be worked on. Ryan Grubb said it, and I mean, despite the announcing Jackson Lloyd as the starter, which I thought was funny. I don't know why he would do that, but the other things he spoke about were very valid and what you want to hear. And I don't think they're selling snake oil when they're saying that. They know, they get it. The writing's on the wall for Ryan Grubb. This will be 3 years in a row that he can't run the football. He knows that needs to change. And then also, quick point about DeBoer. I find that DeBoer's interviews going into this season seem like they're very detailed compared to what he was saying in his first 2 years. He used to defer to his position coaches, defer to his coordinators, especially about defense. But this year he's talking about positional changes for guys at Bandit, guys at Wolf, like talking about the other side of the football in depth compared to what he was doing in the past. I like to see that. I'm glad to see it feels more hands-on. He understands that it needs to be more detailed. It needs to be, and look, I think he has a leash a little bit on this season, given how young the roster is in terms of experience. So I don't think that the expectations should be crazy high. I think that we should have an 8.5 win expectation in our head, and if we outperform it, we should be happy.
Yeah, and I think really it's just like you said. I mean, you mentioned the new 9-3 being like the new 10-2. Well, you also have a 12-team playoff, which also could potentially be expanded. Right. And I don't think it's how some people make it seem, where it's like, oh man, you're changing. Alabama's culture is changing, or the expectations are coming. Again, Cleo didn't say that. I don't think many people worded it like that, but that's just kind of how I'm using it today. I don't think it's soft. I think it's just, right. I think it's kind of smart, just understanding the whole picture, right? I mean, LSU's always been a tough matchup for us. Now they've got Lane Kiffin, and they've got a wallet that's basically unlimited. That matchup is probably going to be even more difficult moving forward, right? Texas A&M, you got Mike Elko, who's led that team and done a really good job. We know they also have some pretty deep pockets. They've got a really good quarterback. They've been able to develop a really nice defense over there. Like, that's a matchup that when you look at this Alabama schedule, you got to get through that team. This LSU team, a lot of question marks, but you expect them to be pretty solid. You look at Georgia, it's going to be Georgia. That's always going to be a matchup. And I just think if you combine the schedule, if you combine this roster, kind of the approach this offseason, basically saying, hey, we're going to trust our young guys that they can, step up and be the guys, not knowing how that's necessarily going to work. You can go off what you've seen in practice, but it's a whole different thing when it comes to live bullets. That's a little bit of a gamble.
Right.
I think you just kind of I don't know, just setting yourself up with some realistic expectations. That's how I view it. So that's I think a lot of people would agree with what you're saying. That it's just, if you look at it from that lens, I don't think it's being soft or lowering expectations. You're just kind of adapting to the new norm of college football. In a perfect world, I would love to say, Alabama is just going to go 11-1 consistently every year. But, I know there's, Ohio State and teams like that seem like they're able to do it. Oregon. But you look at their conference, and I understand the Big Ten is a great conference. They had the last 3 national championship winners, like, all due respect, to the Big Ten. However, when you look at the SEC, I just think top to bottom, it's a deeper conference. And with that being said, it's even more difficult to consistently only lose one game on a schedule that consists of we had 7 teams in the top 25 by the end of it. Hell, we had a 4-game stretch last year of 4 straight ranked opponents, half of those being on the road. I mean, it's quite the gauntlet. So, definitely not easy. Carson, we appreciate you, man. Oh, go ahead.
Absolutely, man. Y'all take it easy. Roll Tide.
Yes, sir. Roll Tide, man. Good stuff as always. We had to get this timeout in here real quick because we got Gray Robertson on the other side. We'll talk about this and some other Alabama athletics March Madness tipping off. We also have softball. They're crushing it. Baseball going on. What's going on in baseball? We got to figure that out. We'll do that with Gray Robertson on the other side right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
The Tuscaloosa Thread News Update is brought.
What do you think, guys? Are we getting soft? Am I soft for for saying, listen, I'm gearing up for a 9-win type deal, and I'm not necessarily mad at it. Do I think we could have done more this offseason that probably could have helped us out a little bit in terms of our roster? And again, that's speaking way too early. I'm saying if it doesn't end up going exactly how we wanted to, yeah, I'm going to throw that in there. I'm going to say, yeah, this is, if it does turn out like that, I will mention that. If it does turn out to be a season where the youth and some of the newness, the guys that we chose to bring in, say they don't hit on all those players, best believe I'm going to bring that up because I was very, opinionated on that I felt like we could have done even more during the portal period. But as of now, where it sits, man, I think that's just, I don't know, just having a little bit of a realistic outlook, man. Not saying if you don't view that, it's not realistic. Like I see, we got our guy JT in here, man. He said it's 10-2, 11-1, depending on the offensive line performance. Not saying that that's not realistic. I just think you're talking like best case scenario, right? I mean, you're talking about like the offensive line is phenomenal. The backs all of a sudden are running like damn Warwick Dunn and I don't know, hell, Barry Sanders. I mean, you just got a backfield that's just much improved from last year. Whoever's the starting quarterback is playing lights out. Defensively, that front seven, which is the big one, I don't think we're talking about it enough. And we are, but I don't know if a lot of other people are. I think a lot of people just see the size of the guys on paper that we brought in and just magically assume that this front seven is just going to be, I mean, this like elite unit. And it's just football don't work like that. I mean, I think it's really important to see how that unit ends up taking shape because, I mean, that could make or break your defense. I mean, having a really good secondary and a lot of production coming back is great, but if you struggle to get pressure on the quarterback, you struggle to stop the run, you know what I mean? You don't have that production from the linebacker position replaced the way you need it to, even from a leadership standpoint, which the good news is, leadership-wise, sounds like Caleb Woodson's already showing up and providing a presence there. I'm just saying, I mean, that's like the core of your defense. Right? Like secondary units are great, right? We know the takeaways and strapping receivers up. Like that's important, guys. But front seven is the core. Now you got to have some dudes in that front seven. Got to have some dudes in that front seven. Latoya says if we go 9-3 but are competitive in every game, I'll be satisfied. Now 2027 will be something different. I spot on in my opinion. I agree. 100%. Like honestly, like that's a good way to put it. Like to me, the record's not even, again, as long as it's a competitive record, that's not as important as how we show up each and every week. Like, I agree 100% with Latoya. I would have focused more of my attention on how we perform. Do we play with an edge? Are we playing consistently? Are we playing discipline? Right? Are we playing with toughness and physicality on a snap in, snap out basis? That to me is more important, right? You know, you do all those things and you still drop 3 games to really good teams, whether it's like A&M, LSU, Georgia, whatever the case may be. There won't be too many complaints from me, personally.
Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. And we're going to go to the phone lines again. This time, we're joined by one of our guests of today, Gray Robertson of the Crimson Tide Sports Network, also of SEC Network, voice of virtually every Alabama athletic team here in Tuscaloosa. Gray, man, welcome in. How's everything going for you, brother?
It is good, Christian. I've got basketball on. The madness is here. Life is good.
Oh yeah, I know you're enjoying that, man. So you got your bracket filled out, man. Give me a quick little snapshot of your bracket. I know you're a big Alabama guy, but be honest, Gray. How far do you have Alabama making it in the tournament? I'm just going to go. I'm getting straight to it, man. I'm putting you on the spot.
I had Sweet 16. I've got, let me check as I pull out my bracket right now. I've got Michigan coming out of that side of the bracket. I've got Arizona winning it all over Florida in the championship, and I've got Michigan State as my 4th team. So 2 schools for Michigan. Shout out to the Glove State. But, yeah, I mean, this is the best 2 days of one of the best 2 days of the sports calendar. You know, these next 2 days where you have all these first-round games and wall-to-wall basketball until about midnight or so. It's the best. So it's a great time to be a sports fan.
It really is, man. Really, really fun stuff. We're talking about Alabama, man. Give me your outlook. You said you have them making it to the Sweet 16, Gray. Talk a little bit about your expectations outside of just how far they make it, but just maybe some guys stepping up. We know with the recent news of Aden Holloway, more than likely, you know, he's probably not going to be a part of this run, at least as of now. So, I mean, he's your second leading scorer that you're going to be lacking going into this tournament. Who do you feel like steps up in his place, and just how do you see this team really coming together as they make this run?
Well, you're going to need Latrell Wrightsell to make a lot of shots. When you don't have Aden Holloway available, you lose a key 3-point piece. So Latrell Wrightsell, I think Amari Allen is going to have to step up and play better than he has in the last few weeks. And, you know, you're just going to have to rely on a bunch of people to make up the points that you're losing with Aden Holloway, most likely unavailable. Certainly, I would say in this first game and maybe beyond. But, yeah, I mean, I think as long as you're able to get hot, I've said this for the last couple of times I've been on, you know, if you can get hot, you can go as far as you want in the NCAA tournament. And Alabama certainly does not lack for shooters. So you've got guys who can take and make the 3, and they can work themselves available. And I think a guy like Latrell Wrightsell probably needs to be the one that really steps up because he's got that type of talent, got that type of shot that can really change a game.
Do you feel like it's going to be a disappointment, Gray, if they don't, let's say, make it to where you have them like at the Sweet 16? I mean, you're talking about a team that going into the year, a lot of people had very high expectations for them. They started the year off playing some really good talent. They've had a number of injuries throughout the year. The whole issue with Bediako now going into the tournament, at least as of now, without their second leading scorer. I mean, what do you feel like, I mean, would be, I guess, expected out of this group? Because I still see some people a little bit high on Alabama in this tournament. A lot of others down them. Some people even having them with the first round exit. I mean, like, preview that matchup a little bit against Hofstra or Hofstra. I still don't even have the pronunciation, Gray. I mean, how do you see that first matchup going?
Well, when you've got a contrast of styles, which Alabama and Hofstra is, to me it boils down to who's got the better athletes, and the answer is Alabama. Hofstra is a very good basketball team. You won the CAA, like they have done a great job in a good mid-major conference, but I just don't think they have the horses to compete with Alabama and win that first-round game. Now, if Hofstra were to win, I'm sure that clip would make its way around somewhere. But I just don't think that they have the guys. And if you're Alabama, you you have to utilize your athleticism to let your style take control of the game, because Hofstra's going to try and slow it down. They're going to try and muck it up. They're going to try and muddy the game a little bit. And if you're Alabama, just do what you do. And if you play your game and it plays at your pace, you should be definitely all right in this first round game. And I think as for expectations, when you're the 4 seed, the expectation is the Sweet 16. Anything beyond that is awesome. Anything before that is a disappointment. I think, with the natural way that seeding is, you kind of are expected to go as far as your typical seed line is, and anything beyond that is a nice surprise and really, really fun and a great run. So anything shy of the Sweet 16, I think, would be a disappointing end, I think, especially for Coach Oates and for this team, because there have been moments where they've looked like a top 10 team in the country. And if you're not able to get to that second weekend in the NCAA tournament, I think it would just feel like a missed opportunity with the talented roster that you've got this year. I hope for the fans, there would be a moment of disappointment, but we're talking about a scenario where we're mentioning how disappointing it is for Alabama to not make the Sweet 16. And there was a very long time where that was never really a possibility, where that would have been the nice surprise for Alabama basketball. So, it is what it is, and perception is perception, and I'm sure everyone will react differently, but I'm thinking a Sweet 16 visit at the least, and anything beyond that would be a really, really good run by this team.
Yeah, I mean, it is, when you put clear that Nate Oates has done a phenomenal job raising the bar here for the Alabama basketball program, because I do remember even when I was in school that expectations just weren't too high, and no disrespect to was it Coach Avery, John? I mean, listen, and even before that, it just wasn't. You didn't really expect to do a whole bunch, and now, like you said, I mean, it's like Sweet 16 is almost kind of like the floor expectation, I feel like, which is definitely a really good sign, man. Shout out to everything that Coach Oates has done. I know there's definitely, with some of the negative media out there, a lot of attention on the program, but some things are a little out of his control. But it is what it is. I want to move on to another sport, Gray, that's also doing some really good stuff. Softball, your sport. Well, you cover a lot, but I always call softball like your sport, man. I feel you got a lot of deep ties there. They're doing their thing. They've got one loss now, no longer undefeated, but they did take the series from Arkansas, which again was a really good matchup, a very solid program there. Give us the latest. Well, number one, I guess recap that series for us, Gray, if you don't mind, and then what's next for this program under of course, Coach Murphy. I'm about drew a blank on my guy, man. Tell us what's next with Coach Murphy and the squad.
Well, I'll tell you what, this Arkansas series was a blast. And coming in, we knew that. I was very, very lucky to be on the TV call for all 3 games. Shout out to ESPN for not making anything linear. And on the digital side, we were coming in, we were hyped. The group chat is going. We're coming up with all these graphics. And, one of the things that we talked about going in was, and we talked about this as a team, me and Kaylee Tao, my analyst, and our director, or our producer, Andrew Hendershot, and our director, Mackenzie Maxwell. And, we sat and we said, guys, this is the series of the sport this weekend. It was the only top 10 matchup last weekend. This was the one that everyone was going to be tracking and watching, and we need to deliver. And I felt like our shows did, but a big reason why was because the games did. I mean, game 1 was a classic SEC softball, pitcher's duel, where it came down to one hit, and that one hit came from Lex Papillo with the bases loaded after Brooke Wells was intentionally walked to get to Lex Papillo. That was as loud a moment as I can remember at Rhodes in a few years. Game 2 was the SEC chaos game. I mean, you had errors, you had home runs, you had a 37-minute bottom of the 4th, thanks to multiple reviews and rulings, and I'm leafing through the physical rule book, and we're trying to figure out what the heck we're challenging out there on the field and what's going on. And it was pure chaos. And Arkansas, who's got a top 10 offense, flexed in that game. And Dakota Kennedy had 7 RBIs by herself. She's a 2-time All-American who transferred in from Arizona. And it was the first time Alabama this year has really been punched in the mouth. And they got punched in the mouth early. They responded and took a lead. And then Arkansas scored 8 of the last 10 runs in the game to win 14-9. And so I wasn't sure what would happen in game 3, honestly. I mean, when you face adversity for the first time, it's hard to know what the response will be. And, man, Jocelyn Brisky, who threw that game 1 came out in game 3 and threw better. And that is not easy in the SEC. That's stuff that Montana was doing. That's stuff that some of the greats in SEC pitching are able to do, come out better the second time, but it's not a very common thing. And she just absolutely stifled an Arkansas offense that had swung up well the day before. And as I mentioned, is top 10 nationally. I mean, her ability to split the zone with her rise ball and her drop ball, and then on Sunday utilize a changeup to totally get Arkansas in fits and off time, it showcases her growth and the work that Lance McMahon has done, the pitching coach, to develop her. I also think Lance deserves a lot of credit for calling a great game. I mean, the pitching plan was exceptional on Sunday, and I think it showed me just what this team is made of. They got the hits. They put together some runs. They were able to hit Arkansas pitching that they'd already seen in the weekend, and I just was really, really impressed by the way that the team responded to that, and I think that they showed that they belong in that top-tier conversation, and now they're going to Missouri. This is the first regular season series I will not be attending since 2017. I'll be on baseball this weekend, and I'm going to go say bye to a team when they get on the plane later and wish them luck. But going to Missouri, who's last in the SEC, this is a great opportunity for Coach Murphy to solidify the lineup, and I think for the team to really, really showcase where they sit in the SEC standings. I think it's hard to sweep in the SEC, but I think a sweep is almost expected this weekend and something that this team is certainly capable of.
Now, I don't want to jinx anything, Gray, but I can't help but think sometimes, man, when you're rolling, everything's going great, then you get matched up against opponent, like you said, bottom of the SEC on the road. They got the home turf, man. Sometimes it can spell a little bit of a trap situation. Hopefully that's not the case, and I don't expect that to, but hopefully they keep that same intensity that they've had because they're crushing it, man. It's really exciting stuff. And you mentioned baseball. You'll be covering that. Again, we're joined by Gray Robertson, CTSN, and ESPN, SEC Network broadcaster, doing some really good stuff. Gray, talk us a little bit about baseball real quick, man. I'm trying to wrap my head around what's going on. They've been struggling some. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, you got a guy by the name of Justin LeBron, who's probably the best prospect we've had here in quite some time, man. Just what have you seen out of this baseball team, and what do they need to do to kind of get back on track?
Well, I feel like I'm providing analysis from 10,000 feet because I've been, at softball a lot lately. I've done some baseball, but it's been a couple weeks. It just feels like they're a little tight, and I'm not necessarily sure why that is or what would prompt that, but there were opportunities in Lexington this past weekend, and they couldn't cash in. It's good that Justin LeBron is okay. There was a slight injury concern, but I just feel like they're not playing loose and not playing free, and I don't really know what the fix is for that. I mean, it's easy for me to say just play loose and play free, but there are a million reasons why that might not be happening, or what might be going on in the room, or what the outside pressure, or what's going on in the players' lives. I have no idea. But it just seems like they're a little tight. And this weekend against Florida, a very, very good Florida team ranked in all the polls, and they've had their own kind of strange offseason with, Kevin O'Sullivan leaving the team. And as far as I know, he has not returned unless I missed something in the last week. It's a tough opponent at home. So it's an opportunity in front of your home crowd to maybe get back on track. And there should be a good crowd this weekend. I would certainly think. It's been a minute since the team has been back at the Joe. But they just gotta find a way to get some energy and look like they're having fun, loosen up and really put it together.
Yeah. Sometimes there needs to be like a little bit of a spark, right? Like somebody kind of set the tone, or maybe one of those performances kind of get the guys back rolling. It's always easier to do that at home when you got your own fans supporting you and behind you. So if you're not busy this weekend, guys, go check out the Joe and go support our guys. Hopefully we can kind of get back on track. Gray, I got one last question before we let you run, man. The theme of the day in terms of our football conversation, the SEC win total predictions have been coming out. Everybody's always chiming in. Over unders for each team. We've obviously been looking at Alabama. 8.5 is what FanDuel has come up for Alabama's upcoming season. I think that makes sense given the outlook on this team right now, where it sits, especially for people on the outside looking in. I think that kind of falls into place. But my question for you is, number one, over under on 8.5, and two, have we gotten a little soft as a fan base now that you're starting to hear more people come around to the idea that, hey, with all the youth that we have this year, I wouldn't necessarily call it a rebuilding year, but it does feel like you're replacing a lot. There's a lot of young faces on this football team, a lot of new faces on this team, new coaches on the staff. It does feel like it could potentially be a 9-win type deal, but myself and a lot of others are starting to just say, hey, that's kind of what makes sense. You know, we're accepting of that given the situation that we're currently in. Are we becoming soft for thinking like that? Does that mean we don't have that passion for excellence anymore? Or is that just kind of looking at it from a little bit more of a grounded mindset? What's your opinion on that, Gray?
First off, I'll take over. I think over 8.5 would be my move. I mean, 9-3, 10-2. That seems pretty reasonable enough to me, just based on the schedule. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised at how talented some of these young guys are. Maybe if they aren't paying attention. But in terms of what you're talking about expectations, I think the last part you said is 100% right. I think it's okay to be realistic and grounded and to understand the era that we're in. Like, Indiana had a great season last year. They went 16-0. That is not going to happen very often. It is so hard in this current era with, talent being spread around, with, the playoff being a month long, with, the conferences being as good as they are, to win all your games. And I think it's important to understand that it might not be as pretty a record as it would be in the past, but if you get to the college football playoff and you win a game and you go on a bit of a run there, that's still a really good year. We can't be living in this world where it's a failure if you don't win the national championship in college sports in this era. It's not feasible, because then you'll be firing everybody every other year. And I think that, it's okay to have reasonable expectations, and also to understand that is kind of asking for excellence. I mean, I think 9-3, we've seen it, can make the college football playoff. Is 9-3 an overall record that you want? Not necessarily, but it's enough to get into the playoff. And I think if you're in the postseason for any college sport, that's pretty excellent. So I think it just depends on your evaluation and how you feel going into a year. But to me, doing whatever it takes to get into the big dance, whether it be the NCAA tournament, whether it be the college football playoff, whether it be whatever, works for me. And I really don't care what the record looks like.
Hey, listen, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier. I said, at the end of the day, I think I'm not going to focus as much this upcoming season on the record, as long as it's a competitive record, like you mentioned, at least borderline playoff type deal. As long as I see competitiveness on a consistent basis, as long as I see physicality, toughness, intensity, that edge come back, a running game, being established, I can live to see another day, as long as those things are at least being attended to. Gray, we appreciate you joining us, man. That's always really good getting all your insight on all sports, all things Alabama related. Before we let you go, man, tell everybody how they can keep up with you on the call this weekend.
Yeah, we'll be on the baseball side on the Varsity app. You can tune in there and listen to baseball against Florida. I'm sure I'll tweet it from my account at Gray_Robertson on Twitter. And yeah, just, we'll be there all weekend long at the Joe, and I'll be tracking the ladies up in Columbia and seeing how they're doing. And we will certainly be providing basketball updates as well. So we will update you on everything during the baseball broadcast. Don't you worry.
Absolutely. And last one, I forgot, your podcast, because we got a lot of softball fans too, man. Plug your podcast that you do about softball.
Yeah, Out of the Box is the name of the podcast. You can find it on Twitter at @outofthebox_pod. We had ESPN analyst and Arizona legend Jenny Dalton Hill on the show this week. We talked a lot about everything, especially the SEC race. And, we're getting close to bracketology time, so I'm going to be breaking out the metrics pretty soon and trying my best to predict what a boardroom of 12 people will put together on a sheet. So, best time of the year.
Love it, man. Well, good stuff. Appreciate you joining me. Have a great call this weekend, and we'll talk soon, brother.
Thanks, Christian.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good deal. Our friend Gray Robertson of CTSN and SEC Network, man. Really good stuff. We got to hit a timeout. We come back. We keep on rolling. We'll try to squeeze in a phone call or so. We get our guy Adam on the phone. We'll talk about the latest with the Aden Holloway situation and get Adam's thoughts, our official legal expert here on the show. Plus, we'll take some calls while we got Adam on the stream as well, right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Everybody loves Taco Casa. Everything we do in our store, we prepare in our.
All right. Joey says, respect the grade, but that's not excellence. It's so much the record as the way play chasing. Wait. It's not so much the record as the way that they're playing, chasing that excellence. Sorry. This is what I'll say, Joey, because I get where you and others are coming from, where you say, like, 9 wins, that's not excellence, that's not pursuing it. Well, number one, the guys in that building, both coaches and players, their goal is to be 1-0. Oh, no, you're good. This is just a typo, no big deal. I figured it out. Let's be clear. We're talking about fan expectations and fan acceptance of what the reality of the situation really is. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about what Kalen DeBoer and his staff or his players would be, willing to be okay with, right? That's a totally different conversation. Kalen DeBoer and his team and his staff, just like every other staff in America, their goal and expectation every single year is to win every single football game and to win every single national and conference championship game imaginable. Dang, I hate that we missed JR. Maybe he can try to circle back, man. I apologize. We'll try to squeeze Duval on here if we can. But you get what I'm saying? So we're only talking about from that perspective, because I want to be clear. I mean, you're talking to somebody that was part of Coach Saban's dynasty that we just talked about. I mean, I hit my mic. I played in 4 straight national championship games. I was a member of 4 SEC championship teams. I played an SEC championship game every single year except 1 year that I was here and won every single one of them. Like, I mean, you guys know I always fool around and show you guys. I mean, like, listen, you talking about standard of excellence. Like, I'm with you guys 100% of the way. Like, don't get me wrong. However, this era and this team is not what I was a part of. That's just a fact. So I'm just saying, like, personally, I just feel like, for me at least, I'm not saying what anybody can have their own expectations, but for me, I just think you're setting the bar really high for people that, the landscape's different now. You're setting the bar high for a race that's not necessarily equivalent to what we were doing. Not saying it's that much harder or this and that. If anything, I would argue making a 4-team playoff is a little bit more difficult than making a 12. It is more difficult. You know what I mean? Like, there's pros and cons to everything. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't want to put that on those dudes personally. That's my opinion. I respect everybody's opinion, but I just want to be clear. We're talking about, like, the fan base outlook, not like the team. The team is, I mean, they're striving for undefeated excellence. We all know that. We're talking about, the fan perspective right now. And welcome back real quick. We got a few minutes before we hit this top of the hour break. Again, we've been we just got done talking with Robertson, who filled us in on everything going on. We talked some March Madness. We talk Alabama softball. Again, make sure you guys tune into his podcast and everything that he's doing, covering those ladies who are crushing it right now. Talk a little bit about baseball. And of course, we hit on our theme of today, Alabama's culture, right? But again, trying to focus more so on like the fan perspective in terms of, like, expectations, right? Not so much on the team, because I want to clarify, because maybe it's not being made clear enough. The team is going to have their culture itself is like they're expecting to win every single game. Like, that's what they're striving for. I'm not saying that they're okay winning 9 games. I'm not saying the staff is saying they're okay with winning 9 games. I'm saying, like, the fan response and fan acceptance of something like that. That's what I'm referring to here. We all know. I mean, literally, I'm still out of team. Vanderbilt thinks they're going to go undefeated this upcoming season. Missouri, Kentucky, Mississippi State, every team, right? Every single locker room that's, going into spring practice, finishing winter workouts, wherever they're at. Everybody thinks they're going to win every single game. Everybody thinks they're going to win the national championship. Like everybody, like, that's how everybody is. But I'm speaking more on, like, the I don't know, the fan perspective. Chase, we got a few minutes. I'd love to take a call real quick before we get to the top of the hour break, but we just don't have enough time. We'll take it when we have Adam on the phone, on our stream, because he joins us via the stream, man, every Thursday. What do you think, Chase? You got a couple minutes real quick, man. How do you view this whole thing? Do you think it's being soft or lacking like that championship mindset of excellence by saying, as a fan, saying, hey, I'm okay with the 9-win type season, given, our roster, the outlook on this year, our schedule, whatever the case may be. Coming from an Alabama fan, we know any other team, if you say 9-win season, that's really, really good for a lot of teams. I'm referring specifically to the Alabama fan base. Has it become soft by being willing to accept a 9-win type season, or is that just being a little bit more grounded?
I think it's just being more grounded. I won't take too long because we have to go to break, but I think it's just being realistic. You can be a fanatic, and you can be high for your team, and you see the amount of success that can be done for Alabama football for this upcoming season. But if it's not done, if it's not the way you want it, then I feel like the backlash is bigger. And I feel like if you understand, look, we have a group of players that are new. We have a new head coach that's still finding his way a little bit. If we're expecting Nick Saban type of success out the gate or to continue that, I think you do a disservice not only to Alabama football, but people who follow it and people who really are trying to learn more about it, like myself, because it's like you can't expect to go undefeated this season. The amount of competition that's in the SEC, the amount of parity that's in college football right now, and just so much that's changing before our eyes. We don't know what the next couple of months is going to look like until we get to that point. So I think people have to kind of slow down a little bit, realize that we have a good program. The UA didn't lose anything. Last time I checked, it didn't change the university's name. So they're fine. It's just we have to adjust and slowly build back to what could be a Nick Saban kind of dynasty, but we just don't know yet, and that's okay. You're still winning by my book.
Fair enough. That's a fair response. And real quick before we hit this break, I throw the blame on Indiana at this point because we all talked about, hey, man, you're not going to see undefeated teams anymore in this new landscape, this new era. It's just too hard. You got the transfer portal. There's too much parity, right? You'll just never see that. And then, of course, Indiana, who was like the second worst college football program of all time, they develop a squad. They go bring in the lunatic and Signetti, who has the rock eyebrow going on half the time, like that whole weird thing he's doing looking at the camera. I think he's clip farming, if you ask me. But anyway, they go out there and they prove everybody wrong. You can go undefeated in this era. You just need 22, 23, 25-year-olds and a hell of a good scheme and a coach that's just wired a little bit different. That comes from Coach Saban's tree, and it is possible. I don't know. Let's hit this top of the hour break. When we come back, we'll be joined by our official legal expert here on the show, attorney Adam Lampereello. We'll get the latest on this whole Aden Holloway case. Plus, we'll keep talking about this conversation, Alabama's culture as it shifted. Again, more so on the fan side of things. Talk about that more and get y'all's thoughts right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. We'll be right back.
WTBC Tuscaloosa.
All right, let's get our guy Adam up on stage. If you're ready, Adam, you can give me a thumbs up if you're ready. All right, you sure out there? There's no rush. We're on a commercial break, so. All right, let me, where's our, I feel like I'm losing our, there they go. All right, let's, there we go. Click that and there we go. We got our guy Adam up here. Adam, what's up, man?
How's it going?
It's going, man. I'm like trying to multitask, man. I've got my dog here who's like whining and needs absolutely nothing except to see my other dog. And
Right.
he's developed this like infatuation with my other dog, and he will not just stop whining to get to him. But the problem is, and I know you're like, oh, just put them together. He like will just like uncontrollably like lick my other dog.
Oh,
And like
wow.
my other dog hates it. So I'm like, I don't want my other dog to be just annoyed. And yeah, it's weird, man. It's new behavior. I have no idea what's going on with him. But anyway.
I've got 4 cats, and usually during the show, one of them is scratching the door outside, wanting to come in.
Yeah, listen, I deal with it all the time with my dogs, man. It's like one's wanting to come in, one's trying to go out. And I'm like, all right, let me get up and try to do this. Yeah, it's man, listen, animals and pets, man, I love them. But sometimes, man, it's just like they don't communicate like humans. So you can't just say, I'm working. Can you please just chill out for 2 seconds, man? I'm trying to do my job, man. Please. It's how you get food. It's how you put food in your dog bowls, man. You got to chill a little bit.
Exactly. I try to talk to them. They just stare at me.
That's how mine are. Joey says a sign of submission to your other dog. I mean, maybe. So I have my other dog he's older, man. I got him when I was in college. I think he's about I think he is 9 because I just got to update like one of those reminder or those memory photos that pop up on your phone. But he's 9, and I mean, I think he's fine. He seems everything is good with him. But I know sometimes, I guess I don't know. Like I don't know, maybe because he's older, maybe something. I don't know. But the dog that's doing it's my lap. He's 4, and he is not neutered. I probably should get him neutered. That might be part of it. Maybe he's also like overstimulated right now with who knows, man.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm really excited to get you back on here, man. Always glad to have you on here.
Oh,
and
to be here.
Perfect timing, Adam, to get you on board because now, granted, this is, I mean, I'm not happy we have these things coming up, but like, I mean, between the Bediako situation, I mean, getting your expert opinion on that was so invaluable. And now this, man, like perfect time to officially have our own legal expert here on the show. I mean, it's incredible. So I'm excited to get you.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to bring us back here, Adam. And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, hour number 2 officially underway. We're talking about a number of things. Big theme of the day, and we'll get to this with our second guest of the day, Mr. Adam Lampereello, here in a second. But we definitely got to switch gears a little bit because we are now joined by our official legal expert here on the show, Mr. Adam Lampereello, attorney and professor, who joins us every Thursday. And I just was talking with Adam during the break here on our stream, man. Perfect timing to officially get Adam on board and have him joining us frequently because, I mean, this has been a season full of situations that, you know, legal advice and expertise is desperately needed, even for us to kind of understand. So, Adam, welcome in, man. Good Thursday to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here, Christian.
Always. We had a great football conversation last time. About got a little heated between me and my dad for a second, man. We were going back and forth with that whole thing, and I'm sure he'll probably end up jumping on here in a second. So we'll have to make sure we stick to the script here for a second because I do want to get all these answers. I guess these questions answered here in a second. But Adam, real quick, man, have you seen kind of what's been going on? Just a quick little reminder for everybody tuning in. Not long ago, and I guess I'll read these updates as well. Unfortunately, Alabama's second leading scorer, Aden Holloway, had his residence searched and ended up finding what now is, I guess, said to be about over 2 pounds of marijuana, which we know in the state of Alabama, it's not legal here, especially a quantity of that nature, right? I don't even think even a small amount really is permitted here. Maybe you can help me on that one. But long story short, new details have emerged, which I will say we kind of did have a little bit of an idea on the initial piece here. We just kind of were, kind of hesitant, but now it is officially being announced that, so he initially was involved in a traffic stop March 10th, and 6 days later was when they eventually went and searched his home, and that's where they found all the marijuana they did in the apartment. To his arrest and also 2 felony drug charges. So, Adam, without further ado, if you don't mind kind of giving us your thoughts on the situation, kind of what you've gathered. Now, I know Alabama laws are different, but I know you reside in, up north and also in Georgia, so maybe you're able to kind of have a little bit of an idea about Alabama, but kind of what's the outlook on this whole situation for a very talented basketball player, but a young man who, I mean, had so much in front of him right before the tournament started. And of course, NBA and professional dreams and aspirations, but now he's got a big roadblock in front of him. Kind of what's, expected for Aden Holloway?
Well, I think the outlook for Aden Holloway is good if he handles this correctly. And that's why he needs a great criminal defense attorney to help him do that. So I'm always available for a reasonable fee. A lower fee than most, if not all. So law enforcement officers had a search warrant, and they searched his residence, and they found 2.1 pounds of marijuana. The good news about that is that it wasn't 2.2 pounds. If it was 2.2 pounds, he could have been charged with trafficking, which would have entailed a much higher prison term and spelled real trouble for him. So let's look at this broadly. He was arrested for having a lot of marijuana. First thing I'll say is, in this country, we are innocent until proven guilty. So there should be no presumptions about his guilt. I even have a problem with the University of Alabama removing him from campus because he is innocent until he's proven guilty. Now, the fact that he had this marijuana, the first thing the defense attorney needs to do is to challenge the search warrant. What did they have probable cause to search his residence? Was it properly authorized by a magistrate judge? Were there any exceptions to the warrant requirement that apply? So you got to make sure the procedures that law enforcement followed were appropriate and consistent with the Constitution. Second is his Miranda warnings. Once he was arrested, did he properly receive his Miranda warnings? The right to remain silent, and of course, the right to have an attorney if you can't afford one. So the attorney should look to see if there's any procedural defects in how law enforcement obtained this evidence. If there are, then they can make a motion to suppress the evidence, and that would effectively end the case. Now, assuming there's no procedural defects and law enforcement did everything right, Aden Holloway should plead guilty. He should negotiate with the prosecution for a lower charge, a misdemeanor charge, okay, that will not carry any jail time and that will allow him to move on with his life. Now, this will be his first offense, and this is the key. You can screw up once. You can't screw up twice. So this is going to be his one screw up that is not going to derail his career, and in my opinion, shouldn't even derail his career at Alabama. So what he needs to do is, attorney, like I said, challenge any procedural aspects to the search or the Miranda warnings. And if that checks out, plead guilty to a lower charge. I'm sure Alabama's prosecutors would agree that since it's his first offense, if he shows remorse and he cooperates with them, it'll be lowered, and then you can get this over sooner rather than later. And then he can hopefully either return to Alabama basketball or pursue a career in the NBA. So I do not think this is going to end his career, but it has to be handled properly.
Wow. I mean, and this is why you have an expert like Adam, especially if you guys are in the need of some type of legal representation or you find yourself in a situation. We hope you don't find yourself in such a situation, but there's all types of situations, whether it's academic misconduct, First Amendment cases, name, image, and likeness, or just all criminal defense matters. And you hear why it's so important to have somebody in your corner like Adam, because they're going to do their due diligence and take great care. If you guys want some of that care and even more, again, they also help high school, college, graduate students in that career in academic planning, whether that's mentoring, exam and test taking preparation, subject matter mastery, and so much more. Make sure you guys check them out. 201-317-5115 is Adam's number, or his email, adam@lampereello-law.com, or visited by Adam himself right now. Adam, you mentioned in a timely manner, so I want to start there. How long of a process, could this typically be? Because, I mean, we see some cases, Adam, get dragged out for a long time. Now, I think those are probably bigger cases that require, the prosecutor and probably the DA to go do a lot more. They're pushing out on purpose. They need to collect more. But for something like this, especially like you mentioned, maybe, the Miranda stuff checks out and he eventually just says, hey, it's probably my best interest to go ahead and just plead guilty to a lesser charge. Well, I guess two questions. Number one, timeline, or an estimated timeline that we could expect, because that would also have a direct effect on if he's going to be readmitted as a student, which could also affect him in his spot on this roster, even in the immediate future as they get ready to tip things off. I always say kickoffs, not football, tip off tomorrow. But then two, Adam, you mentioned taking that lesser charge. What would that consist of? Are we talking maybe any type of jail time? Are we talking probation? I mean, like what is expected for a first-time offender on a lesser charge to that? And maybe what would be like the worst case scenario? I hate to mention that, but just curious.
Okay, so how long it takes is going to depend on how he chooses to deal with it. If he chooses to take this to trial, then this is going to span over many months, because Then there's going to be pretrial motions. There's going to be discovery. There's going to be delays. Then they have to pick a jury. That's going to take many months, could take over a year. If he cooperates, shows remorse, and pleads guilty, this can be over within 60 days. Now, as to the charge, the key here is getting this reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor. Now, there might be some pushback from the prosecution because of the weight, 2.1 pounds. But given that it's his first offense, given that he's going to save the state a lot of resources by simply pleading guilty and showing remorse and cooperating, I think it's realistic that he can get this reduced to a misdemeanor and then face something like probation, community service, and the like. And if that happens, he can have this done by the beginning of the summer. And then I would implore the University of Alabama to do the right thing and admit him to the university and allow him to play on the basketball team. Because the bottom line is that he was caught smoking marijuana. He's not a pedophile. He's not a murderer. He's not a rapist. He didn't assault anybody. Give me a break. He's doing something that's illegal in several states. It's his first offense. And by all accounts, he's a very good person. So the goal shouldn't be to condemn the guy. The goal should be for him to understand that what he did broke the law and to deter future conduct going forward so he can have a profitable career and a good life. And that's why I criticize Alabama from removing him from campus yesterday as if he was some pedophile or something or some threat to the community. I just don't think the underlying conduct is severe enough to warrant a prison sentence or to remove him from the university, because at the end of the day, you got to look at the person. What are we going to do for this person to help them lead a better career and a better life? Well, it's not to condemn him and throw him out onto the street. It's to help him, educate him, and get him back on the road to success.
Man, that's powerful stuff, man. Listen, if you guys, I'm telling you, you need some legal representation. Adam's going to go to bat for you. You hear that conviction in his voice, man. I love it, man. He's going to bat for Aden Holloway. Aden, I know he's got his services already, but if you need some help on it, man, hit our guy up, Adam Lampereello Law and Education and Advocacy. Real quick, let's hit a timeout check so we can stay on schedule. And I know it's getting really good, but I just want to make sure we stay on track. When we come back, we'll keep talking about this and keep breaking this situation down with our guy Adam, because there's a lot of good stuff that he's throwing at us about this Aden Holloway situation. I know a lot of people have a lot of questions about it, so we've got our own legal expert here on the show breaking it down for us right now. So don't go anywhere. We're taking a quick timeout. When we come back, we keep discussing it and more right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Quick timeout. More from attorney and professor Adam Lampereello when we come back. I'm going to wait till we come back to get your answer on it, Adam, but I am curious. I know some folks in the chat mentioned, I was thinking this too, in terms of like the quantity, with him saying, you know, he just used it for personal use, which, believe it or not, I mean, I know a lot of people aren't necessarily buying that. There are some people, especially a guy in his situation. The reason I say it like this is, listen, it's never been my thing, but I played football. I knew a lot of guys that did, whether it was for pain management, helping them kind of just wind down after practice. And the reality is there are some people that have the means to where, you know, I know NIL was, I don't know about how much he was making, but I'd imagine he probably was in a pretty decent position. They might just say, hey, I'm in a season. I'm not going to be able to get, it's already not legal. I think it's very fair to say, yeah, he probably did just have a large amount for personal use. And even if he was sharing with friends or whoever, but how difficult, I'll wait to ask you that. But that is what I'm curious about in terms of like how the state would view that. Like, because I think he also even admitted to detectives or law enforcement initially that he does in fact just use it for personal use. I think when they were doing the search, but
I guarantee he uses it for personal use. There's no way this player, who's the second leading scorer and who has NIL money, is going around Tuscaloosa selling weed. I just don't buy it. I think what he's doing is he likes to smoke weed.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's an immoral thing. And I think the state of Alabama is going to look at it like this is really an elite athlete, and it's his first offense. Do we want to screw the guy over, or do we want to, show some compassion? And that's why him pleading guilty is so important, because it's like a two-way street. You show remorse, we'll help you. You fight it, then they go after you.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And the way you explained it, I think it's probably spot on, right? If there's nothing they can really pry into with the Miranda deal or like the search itself, which we see a lot of times, whether it's DUI case or whatever, I mean, immediately. That is one thing I've learned from reading and watching cases, that you're right. Always attack the process on the other end. I mean, you always have to try to create that reasonable doubt or see if they've made mistakes on their end. But yeah, I think you're right, though. I mean, if you could just plead to a lesser charge at that point. But it did sound like with your timeline, it doesn't really feel that he's going to be back this season. If they've already removed him from school, which to answer well, not answer, you didn't ask anything, but my thoughts on that were, I believe they might have been so quick to do that given the sensitivity from the Darius Miles case. That I just know from, my brother is a DJ with men's basketball, and to the point where he can't even play select songs anymore that might have lyrics which we all know. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, rap and hip hop lyrics, some of the most, a majority of the songs, not majority, but a lot of the music, it's going to pertain, the lyrics with, I have some violence or talking about weapons or like that's just kind of, that is what it is. But they don't even, they're very cautious about what they play at games just because of that situation. If I had to guess, they probably want it to be quick and firm with that decision just because of the sensitivity from that prior situation, which has nothing to do with this. Right. Like you mentioned, you're talking about a violent act was committed, which that case alone, maybe we need to get your thoughts on that, because I think, isn't his trial coming up soon? I'm actually kind of curious about that one too, because I know the co-defendant.
I'm not as familiar with that case. What was that?
So that was Darius Miles. He played on the basketball team as well, and it was following a game against LSU. Him and a buddy from back home that was staying here with him had gone out downtown with several other athletes and got into an altercation.
Oh, yeah.
Handed his personal firearm to his friend, who ended up taking the life of the girlfriend of the driver. Yeah, and so the guy who was responsible for the shooting itself, he ended up getting convicted. So yeah. But I think Darius Miles, I think his trial is yet to take place. So we'll definitely, I know you got to look at, not today, but at some point I would love to get your thoughts on that one too, because that one's a very tough situation given that, the law is here, man. It's tough. All right, I'm gonna bring us back here. And welcome back into this Thursday edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, joined by our official lawyer and representation here on the Miller's Edge, Adam Lampereello of Lampereello Law, Education and Advocacy. Again, make sure you guys check them out if you're in the need of any legal representation or even more, if it's career planning, academic planning, test taking help, any of those services. They do it all, and they're happy to help you. And most importantly, like Adam mentioned earlier, it's at a very affordable rate. We know these things can get expensive. Right now, the economy is a little interesting right now, right? So you try to save some money. Well, if you need representation, this is the best way to do it. Contact Adam, 201-317-5115. Adam at lampereello-law.com. You hear the care and passion, right? Like, that's not just part of what we talk about. I mean, you hear it in his voice as he talks about this case, man. He's definitely very passionate about what he does. Adam, we left off, we talked about Aden Holloway. You mentioned kind of the details on what's next for him after the whole deal. We mentioned the details of the first stop. There was a traffic stop. I'm assuming that probably gave them probable cause to maybe search his residence, which came, I think, 6 days later, led to the discovery of 2.1 pounds of marijuana. And now he's facing the 2 felony charges, which you discussed. But a couple things I want to piggyback off of last segment. Number one, in terms of the 2.1, like the amount, just how difficult is that for somebody, like, really, I guess, is there even a way he can prove that it was? Because he said initially, I think when law enforcement were searching, that is for personal use, which I know a lot of people, even in the chat, some people just aren't buying it, right? I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I don't even know what 2 pounds looks like. So I don't really know. Clearly people are saying it's like a ton, but I just know a world where there are people. I've seen rappers and people have a whole bunch that really is just personal use. But anyway, proving that to the state or the prosecutor, I mean, how do you necessarily, is there a way to even do that? Like, how do you go about that whole thing?
Well, I don't think that Aden Holloway I don't think he's going to need to prove that it was just for personal use, because he was only charged with possession. Okay. Because under Alabama law, it has to be 2.2 pounds for you to be charged with trafficking. Okay. However, the fact that it was 2.1 pounds and just under is certainly a factor in the prosecutor's discretion on how to handle this case. But you have to look at the context. You have to look at the person in this specific instance. He's a basketball player for Alabama, second leading scorer, making probably a lot of NIL money. It doesn't make sense to me that he's going around Tuscaloosa selling weed. I think what he's probably doing is compiling a lot of weed because he likes to smoke it, and probably plans to smoke it throughout the whole year. Now, yeah, that's a lot of weed. But again, he's doing something that's legal in several states that is not inherently immoral. This is not pedophilia. This is not murder. This is not rape. This is not assault. This is not battery. This is not domestic violence. He's smoking a substance that many do for medicinal use. They do it for depression. They do it to calm down. So the fact that there's a lack of moral turpitude, combined with the fact that he's a first-time offender and an elite athlete and an otherwise decent human being, should result in a sentence of probation and community service so that he can go on to live his life as a player and as a person successfully. Because that should be the goal of the University of Alabama. That should be the goal of our criminal justice system, not simply to, punish people, but to rehabilitate where the facts so warrant, and they are warranted here. That's why the University of Alabama just removing him from campus. No. I believe in second chances. When someone shows remorse, they cooperate and they take responsibility. He does that here. He deserves a second chance.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, Coach Saban always had that approach with guys on our team. I mean, I'm not going to go too far back, but we had several guys that, had some run-ins from time to time. I mean, it's part of it. Guys are young. You make mistakes, and I want to be clear. I think Chase put it great the other day. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to remember, guys are young. They're going to make mistakes, and it's easy to beat up guys, especially when they're down. But kind of like you mentioned, it's not making an excuse, but I mean, just to think about all the fraternity kids on campus or just regular college students that are probably, and again, the quantity thing, I get that that's a little bit different of a ball game. Again, I still don't even really know the differences and all that. From what I've read and from listening to you guys, that's clearly a lot. But I'm just saying, I mean, I'm with you, Adam. I think personally, for him, right? I mean, it's just he made a mistake, and like you mentioned, it's a charge that in another state probably looks a lot different. And hopefully, he gets the help that he needs, not just legally, but also, I think personally, if there, I hate to say like if there is one. I know a lot of people just automatically assume if you have that much, there clearly is a problem. But regardless, I just hope he ends up being in the perfect position. But just to kind of, I'm gonna throw a couple of questions at you from the chat. So, worst case scenario, I know I think I asked you that, but if you had to summarize that up, I mean, what would be like the worst case scenario here for a guy like Aden Holloway who finds himself facing these 2 felony charges?
In my view, the worst case scenario would probably be a few months in prison, and that would be, in my view, excessive. Now, don't get me wrong; I'm not one of these people who doesn't believe in punishment. I mean, if you kill somebody, I think you should go to jail for the rest of your life. But when it comes to crimes like this that don't involve inherent immorality, worst case is going to be, I would say, 3 to 4 months. But that's if it's mishandled by the defense counsel, which I doubt it will be. And if you get a prosecutor who's hell-bent on making an example out of him, which I don't think is going to be the case here, because prosecutors have discretion in how they charge and in what sentences they seek. Here, I think the prosecution is going to be satisfied if he pleads guilty to a misdemeanor, shows remorse, cooperates, so he reduces the burden on them and their resources. And because he's a first-time offender, that is a critical component. He's 19 years old? I don't know how old he is, but he's a young kid. He made a mistake. Okay. He's under a lot of pressure as a football player, as a student, while competing in Division I athletics. And what he did was not so morally repugnant that it warrants punishment. What it warrants is compassion and understanding while still punishing him to reflect the severity of the crime. But let's not go overboard and condemn him. There's no value in that. Otherwise, what's he going to do? He's going to be out of Alabama with no college degree and no sports future. And then what's he going to do? And how can you say that that's justice when he has so much potential as a person? It's ridiculous. And I hope the defense attorney fights and has the courage to call this out for what it is. A lot of nonsense that really in other states would result in a slap on the damn wrist.
So even, so let's say like a state that's probably a little bit, I guess, looser on the substance at play here, right? What we're talking about. Do you think like that quantity would be, I guess, viewed kind of like a slap on the wrist as well? Does the quantity not change any? I'm genuinely curious because I really don't know. But the way that people make it seem is the quantity is what's kind of making this whole thing different. Like, do you feel like, say he had, I wish I knew like the specifics of this stuff better. Say it was kind of like I don't know, an amount that you might see for maybe like a week or two. The way people are describing this are like, oh, you could last a whole year. Do you think that would be a lot different, or do you think with Alabama being very strict with this stuff, it wouldn't make a huge difference since it's still under the 2.2? Because it sounds to me like what you're saying is the fact that it's under 2.2, it kind of just falls under the same umbrella as it being a lesser amount anyway. Does that how that work?
Yeah, it changes the nature of the charge. He could have been charged with trafficking marijuana, which would have resulted likely in a mandatory prison time, and it could have been fairly lengthy. And it depends on the jurisdiction that you're in. You know, the laws in Indiana are different from New Jersey. In California, they're different than they are in Michigan, for example. So it depends. But in some states, in all states, it depends on the weight. So the weight's going to differ across states. But in Alabama, he got lucky here. And there is something to be said for 2.1 pounds of what? Was it 2.1 pounds of cocaine? No, it was marijuana. And they are substantively different drugs. Marijuana causes near zero harm, except in exceptional cases, whereas cocaine, of course, as we know, can be deadly. So it goes back to this point that I'm making, which is let's look at the broad conduct in terms of morality. How immoral is it what he did? Because morality matters when it comes to punishment. The more immoral the crime, the more severe the punishment. I think underlying this is a crime that involves no moral turpitude. It involves a first-time offender who was probably smoking weed to relax. A lot of it, sure. But how morally offensive is it to the community such that you need to put him in jail to what? Deter others from doing it? To exact retributive justice to punish him? And what purpose would that serve? The right purpose here is to ensure that the penalty is proportionate to the criminal act and that he has a chance to have a second chance.
Yeah, no, the second chance, without a doubt, I hope is the case here because to be fair, you said it, you know, the crime itself, and I'm a person that believes, you know, the law is a law. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I don't think there should be any discipline or punishment whatsoever, just because I do feel like if there is something that you know you shouldn't be doing, you do need to make better decisions. But like you said, second chances are everything. And I do think it's definitely something to consider moving forward, which I know a lot of people talk about reform and things like that, to make sure that the punishments are, you know, appropriate for what the acts are that are being committed. So I'm with you 100% on that. Real quick before we're due for this next break here, someone asked a question. I'm curious about this myself, Adam. Again, we're joined by our official legal representation here on the Miller's Edge, Lampereello Law, Education, and Advocacy attorney, Adam Lampereello. Adam, is he, now I know he's probably around 20, 21-ish, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's a junior. Could you qualify for maybe youthful offender status here? I know you're throwing around the first-time offender, which is definitely a big deal and should help him out tremendously, but youth offender status, probably past that here, I'm assuming?
some jurisdictions, and I'm not sure if Alabama has this, have a first-time offender diversionary program. They have what's called drug courts, where if you're a first-time possessor of marijuana, they take a rehabilitative approach to this, where they want to help the person rather than punish him. I think it's going to be a stretch here that he's eligible for any type of program like that because of the weight of the marijuana here, 2.1 pounds. Mm-hmm. But I think that the answer is not imprisonment. I think there's going to be a middle ground approach where he pleads guilty to a misdemeanor, is required to do a few hundred hours of community service, and gets probation. Then after that, the key is how the University of Alabama responds. And in my view, the University of Alabama should reinstate him for next year so he can play basketball and get his degree and go on to lead a productive life so that when in 20 years, when he looks back on this, he can look back on it for really what it is, a very small blip on the radar of what should be a successful career in life.
And to be fair, you're talking about 20 years. I mean, we've already seen the advancement in the acceptance of a lot of things, you know, in particular with what we're talking about here. So, I mean, I would imagine even 20 years from now, there might even be, might not even probably be a law anymore. And maybe, like you said, you look back on it, it ends up just kind of being a tiny little rock in the road that hopefully is a long, successful one for him, because he does have a lot of potential, both on and off the court. And I don't know him personally, but I know people that do, and they've said nothing but great things about the young man. I genuinely just think it was somebody probably doing something that they probably do recreationally that unfortunately is against the law. Call it a bad, I guess misjudgment, bad mistake. But ultimately you just kind of got to learn from it and live on, and hopefully things work out for the best. We got to hit a quick timeout, one more before we come back with Adam, and we'll kind of put a bow on this whole deal. Again, Adam is giving us the latest and all the expert advice on the situation. Plus, we will kind of segue back to our conversation because Adam loves talking some football. And we've been talking about a good conversation about the culture shift amongst the fan base. Now, I want to get Adam's perspective on that. And we'll do that when we come back right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
They should not be in jail at all. This is so ridiculous. He's smoking weed, all right? He's not committing murder. Just last year when they had that football player who got caught for speeding, it was news all over the place. Sorry, I was talking to my girlfriend.
Oh, really? Wait, no, did she think he needed to serve some time?
No, not at all.
No. Oh, okay. Yeah, I expect probably. I think. Wait, somebody just said in the chat. Hold on. 12 months of supervised probation and community service, along with paid classes, completion of a drug program. I could see something like that for sure. Exactly. I mean, that's what I expect. That's my thing was. I just didn't know. Again, and maybe just because I'm naive. Like I'm not dumb, right? Like again, I was in high school at one point, but I've never been one to really do it like that. So I don't know numbers and figures, but it's just when people in our chat the past few days were like 2.1 and making it seem like, it does sound like a lot, but then see, it looks like Dwight said about the size of the box you have your rings in, which, okay, I just showed that. I have that right here. But
it's
so I'm like that doesn't seem like, I mean, that seems like a lot. That doesn't seem like what people were making it seem the first time. So I would tilt it down. I just don't want it to all fly everywhere.
Yeah, so I would say something along those lines, but like it takes like that much of weed to like roll.
Okay, so that's so fair enough. So fair enough.
He's got a couple of seasons worth of.
I mean, listen, I just know from football, like as soon as I was talking about this, as soon as because in the NFL, like the tests that you get for, I guess maybe like recreational type stuff, like PEDs, they can test you whenever, if I remember correctly. Because you could have a good game and you could get tested. But in terms of stuff like this, that test was like once a year, and that was during training camp. And so the guys that did take part in it, so everybody would be waiting on that test. Because once they got that test, they just go and after practice, they go off to do whatever the hell they wanted to do in their free time and not have to worry about it. And so I'll be honest. I mean, I've had teammates that I know. I mean, like, they consistently, like, so I'm sure like that amount, they had no interest in selling or doing anything.
No
Them
way.
fools every day after practice, they would do what they do, every day after practice or whatever. And I'm sure that would probably mount. And I'm sure they had friends hanging out, which, you know what I mean? I imagine it was probably somebody. Again, I don't know, but I just assume that's probably what it was. And hopefully that's how they look at it. Smitty says, Adam, it's legal here in Arizona and people have gotten DUIs. How can someone fight that charge when there's no way to test for it with simply a breathalyzer? That's actually an interesting question. Can they test another way, or?
They could do a blood test when they bring them into custody, and that's typically how they find out.
Okay, because I was about to say, I feel like I think an NBA player that happened. Was it Dylan? What's his last name? The guy that always is beefing with LeBron, man. He's kind of like my complexion, got the long
Yeah.
legs. I want to say he got booked on the DUI charge that was related to that. This is another question I was going to ask you too, Adam. When they mentioned like the paraphernalia aspect, and people said that could consist of like the glassware, whatever that people like regular users might have. If that's a problem, then how are they able? Because like I've seen at like vape shops that they'll have like the bowl, they have all that stuff. Literally, you just go purchase. So you're telling me it's illegal if police searching you have that, but you can just go buy it from a gas station or a store around the corner on campus?
Yes, because
I don't understand that.
I don't either. Because the object itself is not inherently illegal, and you can argue that it's used for other purposes.
Dylan Brooks, that was his name. Thank you. Yeah, this whole thing it's confusing, man. It's I don't.
And I would also argue that driving under the influence for weed is unconstitutional, because driving under the influence is solely intended for intoxication via alcohol. It was never intended to encompass weed. So unless there's some amended statute, that should not be allowed.
That's interesting. All right, I'm gonna bring us back real quick, and I will make sure we get you out of here on time this time.
This stuff gets me fired up.
No, I love it. No, I love it, man. And welcome back into this Thursday Law and Order edition of the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Now, you guys know I always say this. I hate talking about, especially players, like personal stuff, on the show. But to be fair, this is a very public deal now, and we're just kind of recapping stuff. And we got an official legal expert here in Adam Lampereello, who clearly is going to bat. So if anything, we're helping him out here, I guess. I view it from that lens. But all seriousness, I do love and appreciate the expertise from Adam, because I mean this is awesome, man. I grew up watching Law and Order. We joked about it last week, man. Maybe I have a future in law one day, not taking a bar, just filing some paperwork for my guy Adam. But really cool stuff, man. Getting to go inside the mind of a lawyer who understands all this stuff, because this is past me and Chase's pay grade, I would say, man. So thank you, Adam, so much. Hey, we got a quick update real quick. Looks like Coach Oates spoke to the media, Chase. Am I seeing that right? I see Mike Rodak tweeting that. I don't know if there's maybe a media availability, but it does say, according to Mike Rodak, Nate Oates said he met with Aden Holloway in person and talked to him on the phone. I'm an adult. I've made mistakes. We all have things we'd like to do differently. Now is the time to ignore. Now is not the time. Excuse me. It's not. Let me be clear. Now is not the time to ignore a kid you've built a real relationship with, kind of like Adam's been talking about. Now is the time. He needs more love from the adults in his life than at any point. So, and then he goes on to say, you get into coaching to help impact young men's lives. If you disappear when they have made a mistake, not so sure that's a genuine relationship that you've built. I've got 3 daughters. They've made mistakes. You don't disappear on them when they need your help. I hate to always compare, but very Coach Saban-esque, if you've heard him kind of speak on some of the dealings that he's had, when he was coaching here, and there might have been some guys in trouble. I know there's a famous clip of him going at a reporter basically saying, like, what do you want me to do, right? Kind of the same deal. Like, we're not going to just give up on our guys, because worst thing we could do is turn them loose. Then they fall even deeper into some of the things that they might be struggling with or dealing with. So I respect Coach Oates, because, given the situation from a couple years ago we talked about earlier, I mean, it's people from the outside are going to scrutinize and try to point fingers or make it seem like he's got a clear issue. But I think this just, unfortunately, is a situation of a player that just made a mistake. And I don't think it should be a testament to Coach Oates' his career or his time here in Tuscaloosa. Adam, I do want to segue real quick, because I know we only got a few more minutes with you. in terms of this football team and this culture, man, we've been talking about this. I'm curious your thoughts. The SEC win total predictions have been coming out. Alabama sitting at 8.5 wins. So I think that's probably about on par with what many people were probably expecting, at least from like the national pundits' perspective. But my question to you is, I know myself and others have gotten to a point where we're kind of accepting of that 9-win season this year and thinking maybe 2027 could be a little bit better, right? Could be in the cards in 2027 to have a little bit more experience. Some of those young players that are really talented that you recruited from high school might be a little bit older, more mature, ready to step up and provide a little bit more for your team. But I've seen there's been, some people that are saying, hey, man, we're not feeling this whole, hey, we're okay with 9-3 thing. We like this is Alabama. Like my dad's one of those. People are just like, we don't care if they're young. We don't care if it's year 3. This is Alabama. Our expectations are different. Has the culture kind of shifted amongst this fan base? Am I and others becoming soft, Adam, for saying, hey, we're trying to have a little bit more of a grounded approach, knowing where this team currently sits and just maybe kind of preparing ourselves for something just based off of what we see right now? Or are we kind of just living in reality? What do you think?
I think that it's not becoming soft necessarily, but I think it's more realistic because there's more parity in college football now. And the games, it's not like you have easy schedules anymore. And if you look at Alabama's schedule, come on, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, A&M, Florida State, South Carolina. So I think it's more realistic. But I think the key point here is not to focus so much on the record as much as it is to focus on the outcome. The outcome being we want to win national championships. I don't care if we win national championship and we're what, 12-3 or 13-3. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like, how is the program's trajectory? Are we consistently making the playoff? Are we going deep into the playoff? Okay. Are we playing to the Alabama standard with physicality? Okay. Unlike the Indiana and Georgia games of last year. So I think it's a little bit short-sighted to focus solely on what the record is. I think the more important thing is what's the ultimate result of the season and how did they play throughout that? And what was the process that these players kind of adhered to make sure they could maximize their chances of being successful? I'm taking the over on this one. Personally, Alabama can win every single game on its schedule. Will it? I don't think it will. But I think 10-2 is a very realistic outcome and a playoff berth. Now that there's 16 teams, certainly. I do think we're going to struggle potentially at Tennessee and at LSU, and Georgia's going to be a tough game, but I don't think we lose all 3. I think at worst we lose 2 of the 3. And then when I look at the rest of the slate, East Carolina at Kentucky versus Florida State versus South Carolina at Mississippi State versus A&M at Vanderbilt and versus Auburn, those big games are all at home. And I think, we're going to have one badass secondary. And I think an improved defensive line. And if, in fact, Keelan Russell is the quarterback, you can expect some fireworks out of him, and it's going to come down then to the offensive line. If they can perform competently, I can see 10-2 as a realistic outcome.
Yeah, I've always said, or I've been saying, like past couple of weeks, we've talked a little bit about this. I think if you go 5-0, which those first 5 games, you're expecting to see some growing pains. You're expecting your offensive line to still be searching for that continuity, still trying to mesh and gel. Your new quarterback getting his feet wet, getting his first, few games of experience as a starting quarterback. The new defense, like you said, the secondary is going to be they're going to be badass. I agree, man. But the front 7, I have some expectations that I need to see them reach for me to say, hey, they can really step up and provide what we need consistently as a defense to not only just stop the run, but generate more pass rush. I love Yonze Pierre coming back. But my question is, can Justin Hill step up and emerge as a pass rusher? Zulu from South Carolina, I don't know if he really has it in his cards to be a big compliment to Yonze in terms of a number standpoint, but can he just force pressure off the edge? Can he be that other presence, right? I have to see those things. That said, I think if you can win those first 5 games, you go 5-0, I think there is a chance you see yourself at 10-2 and earning that playoff berth. I think if you drop one in that stretch, which could be possible, I don't know necessarily who. South Carolina they're bringing a lot of guys back. I know they're coming to Tuscaloosa, but you got Lenora Sellers, you got Dylan Stewart on the other side. They hit the portal pretty heavy. That could be an interesting one. A lot of people circling that Kentucky game. Florida State, not necessarily too worried about that one, but at this point, who knows, right? That said, we'll have to see. And I just think, just kind of just recalibrating expectations and understand, like you said, the parity is what it is. You didn't mention Texas A&M. I think that could be a little bit of a challenge, Adam, just because I like that quarterback. And we know in those dual threat quarterbacks, man, he's got some weapons. He's got former Alabama wide receiver, drawing a blank on his name like I do with everybody's name, but you already know what I'm talking about. Transferred from here. Horton, thank you. Sorry. Came to myself the last second. They got some guys. And defensively, I can't remember exactly who all they lost, but I knew they got some guys still coming back. And last year they had a really good defense. So that one is definitely a game I'm circling. I mean, Georgia, A&M, Tennessee on the road, LSU for sure. I think those four, how you fare in that matchup, I think if you go 2-2, that means you got to be perfect everywhere else, and you can't have a little bit of a mishap like we've seen the last 2 years. So something to consider there.
I would say the most likely is probably 9-3 with probably a ceiling of 10-2. Is 8-4 possible? Sure, but I think where we're most likely going to land is probably at 9-3, and I think with a 16-team playoff, we get in.
Yeah, and then with the playoffs forever expanding, who knows? At some point, they might even reach 24. There's been talk about that. You definitely always should be in there as long as you're kind of in that competitive realm in the conference. Adam, man, great stuff as always, but I love when you can break down. I see why. So people like when I break down some tape and stuff. So I see why it's cool because Adam's doing his own, film breakdown of the legal process. I love it, man. I'm like glued to my seat. I'm like, dang, this is cool. So hopefully there's not more situations that we need to really doing all these breakdowns and analysis with our own guys, because that way we want our guys to be in good hands and not in trouble. But it is always nice to have a legal expert and representation like Adam. And that's why if you guys need that representation, again, that passion, that relentless effort, you guys can hear it in his voice as he talks about this case. And he's not even officially on it. He's just breaking it down. Make sure you guys check them out. And even better, I don't know if I'll say even better, but just as good. The rates are unbeatable, man. Better than you're going to find. So make sure you guys check out Lampereello Law, Education, and Advocacy by attorney and professor Adam Lampereello, who joins us every week here on the show. 201-317-5115. Adam at Lampereello-law.com. Again, that's Lampereello Law, Education, and Advocacy, the official representation here on the Miller's Edge. Adam, man, thank you so much, man. Anything you want to say before you get out of here? We'll let you get back to it.
Just thanks so much for having me on, and great discussion as always. And I'll see you all next week.
Man, looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Adam. You be easy, man.
All right, have a great day.
Yes, sir. You too. Awesome stuff, man. Adam Lampereello, man. I love it, Chase. It's like we got our own little Law and Order going on Thursdays. Really cool stuff. We got to hit a timeout when we come back. I'm going to get to some phone calls, squeeze them in real quick. So hopefully if you guys are still hanging on there, we'll let you guys respond to everything we talked about right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230, WTBC.
Hi, this is...
Yeah, that's right, Jake. Still 12, but in the future, I think they are going to end up. They're probably going to end up expanding. Man, it is what it is. They just can't help themselves. You guys know Marcel Reed has thrown double-digit interceptions 2 straight seasons at Tennessee. After Georgia's the tough one. I mean, that stat sounds great, Smitty, but they also still only lost 1 regular season game last year, even with that. So I'm just saying, I would circle that game to be a tough matchup. Those little stats, y'all love throwing out these stats when it comes to these other teams, man. It sounds good, but listen, that dude is still a good quarterback, man. I mean, listen, our secondary matched up against him. I do feel good about that, but you're talking about a guy that's got a lot of ability, and they're going to be a good football team. And not to mention, I mean, defensively, they had some dudes last year, man. Now I know the edge guy left. I know they got a D tackle coming back who's solid. I got to look more at their roster. I know Landon's doing a breakdown. Maybe I'll check out some of the latest stuff that he's done. But yeah, I think that's definitely going to be one. No, you're good. No, I think maybe Adam was thinking this year with 16, but no, yeah, 12 for this year. But I wouldn't be shocked if moving forward it's going to get pushed to even more games, man. I mean, it's more games, more money, and at the end of the day, man, it's a business. So Sure, he got kicked out of school and off campus for having it on campus. Could be that patriotic. I think, personally, I just think with that whole Miles situation, man, like it's very sensitive over there on the basketball side of things. So, I mean, really athletics in general, but especially basketball. Let's see. Yeah, Chase, if you want to tell Ellis, unfortunately, man, we're not going to have time because is Duval still on the line? I know we had Duval, we had Digger, and there's no way we could squeeze 3 in like 2 minutes. Can't take A&M seriously with Formby. Hey, listen, to be fair, some guys, people said the same thing about Seth McLaughlin. And listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, Seth was inconsistent with his snaps here. And he didn't really, blow you away. He was a little bit more of a position blocker majority of the time. He wasn't real physical at the point of attack, but he was a guy that he was a very smart player. That was his, main attribute, which is a big deal being a center. And he went up to Ohio State. And I remember telling people, because people were laughing when he left and were like, oh, good riddance. And I was like, listen, all the coaches that I've talked to in this building, man, I mean, they know he's not necessarily like the perfect center, but they did not want him to leave, man. He was just a very, I know it sounds kind of hypocritical when I say very reliable when you literally think about it, you're like, man, that was the last thing he was. You couldn't rely on him to snap the ball. But in terms of just really knowing what to do and he just was a valuable piece to have, whether he was the guy or not. And he ended up going and winning the Remington Award with Ohio State and a national championship. So just be careful, man. You never know. Wilkin might turn a new leaf over there and be a much better player over there, man. And welcome back into this Thursday edition of Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. We're gonna give Digger a few minutes. He's still on the phone lines. Real quickly, remind you about our friends over at R&R Cigars. We're talking about smoking some stuff, but this stuff's legal here, right? Cigars, they're totally legal. You can even order them online using that code Miller's Edge. And you can always go hang out. You got March Madness tipping off. I got it right this time. Go watch it at R&R Cigars. Great ambiance, great rooms to watch on the TVs, wraparound porch, weather's heating back up. Over 160 bourbons for you to try. Make sure you guys check them out. R&R Cigars. Again, code Miller's Edge on that website, rnrcigars.com. Again, that's R&R Cigars, the official cigar provider of Alabama football since 2014. Digger, welcome in, man. I got a few minutes for you. Talk to me.
I'm having a big problem with Mr. Adam. Okay.
Uh-oh.
I'm not buying whether it's a mistake or not. Okay. Every judge in America is going to look at that. It's not a mistake. It's a bad intention. The only way it's a mistake if it was the very first time he smoked weed, which we all know it's not. Okay. The only mistake it's going to be is that he bought too much of it. Come on. This is a ridiculous story. I know you're playing a publicity stunt. But come on, you're in a car, okay, and you're smoking weed, you're under the influence. That's not good. I have a moral imperative to argue this, okay? I'm just saying, if he's going to plead this thing down to a misdemeanor, I'm going to lean over as a prosecutor, and I want to hear him say, I will pay the fine, okay?
Oh, of
he
course.
better pay that fine and get on his knees and say, okay, I will plead down. Okay. Otherwise, if you think you're going to get away with this scot-free, come on. Don't kid yourself.
Well, I don't think nobody said scotch-free, but I think it was more so just saying, like Adam's point. I mean, listen, if you can try to find a hole in the whole Miranda stuff or the search itself, we all know that's what people. Now you laugh, but listen, I mean, you know this. I mean, that's what people are going to. The defense is always going to look for first.
Look,
and if not,
this is my argument for that, Christian. This is my argument for that. If they know he's a high-profile person, you can bet your bottom dollar. As a prosecutor, I'm going to cross my T's and dot my I's so I don't screw this up. The Miranda rights will be read, and I will have a warrant, and I will have a good reason why. Okay? He's just trying to poke holes in it, like you said. But come on, when I hear him saying, well, he's not a pedophiliac, He doesn't have any kind of record of a domestic violence. He's not a murderer. All he's doing was smoking weed. Oh, come on. You were under the influence and you were operating a vehicle. That's a problem.
Well, that was the
problem.
You're referring to the traffic stop. I mean, which I don't. To my knowledge, I got to go back and try to read up on. I don't think the charges stem from them searching his home. I don't know exactly what he walked away with from the stop. Whether it was, I don't know. I got to go back and read up on that.
This is what happened. Look, this is what happened to Nick Brooks, your buddy who was at Texas, and he's now at Alabama. He was sitting in a car smoking weed, and the only reason why he got charged with a DUI because he had the keys in the keyhole. The car was running because it was 90 degrees and the AC was on. I get it because he's a big man, 6'7", 200, 300 pounds. He's going to be hot.
Wait, why are you airing him out, dude? I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that happened to the guy, man. Why'd you tell on the guy? I had no idea that happened to him at Texas, man.
Look it up. It was an embarrassment. He said he was going to recruit people at a strip bar. I'm like, oh, come on.
Hey, well, you might need to throw the blame on the staff. Hold on, man. Sarkeesian, what are you doing sending those guys to the strip bar like that? Come on now. That's a bad look for you in Texas, nigga. Hold on. You telling on y'all. That's what you guys do to get recruits. So you're right. Y'all aren't throwing money at the players. You're letting the players throw the money at the women. That's what's happening here, huh?
Nobody at the University of Texas was at the strip bar. It was all player on player.
Yeah.
Come on.
Player on player.
But look it up. Look it up. He was very nice and he was open. Yeah, I was sitting in the car and I was smoking weed. I'm going to recruit. He was being very open about it. And that's why he's at Alabama and not at Texas.
Okay.
I'll let you go.
We appreciate you, Digger. You're a hilarious guy. All right, we got to get out of here. We got Wyatt coming up next, and we will see you guys tomorrow for a free-for-all Friday right here on the Miller's Edge, Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC.
You've been listening to the Miller's Edge, tackling sports daily.
Appreciate you, Chase. All right, chat, streams. We appreciate you guys, man. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I thought that was a fun one today, man. A lot of good conversations going. Really good stuff with Adam. And then, of course, we had to wrap things up with Digger, man. Digger's a comedian, which I think he said that he is a lawyer or was a lawyer. I don't know. I really don't know. I thought he mentioned being a lawyer at one point, but I don't know. He didn't have to tell on our guy Nick Brooks like that. I had no clue that was the whole thing. But listen, these guys are young, man. They make mistakes, and I'm trust me. I'm somebody that the law is law. I'm not making excuses at all. But I also understand, man. Nobody's perfect. You know, just got to tell these guys, man. If you do choose to make these bad decisions, man, you got to live with the consequences and learn from them, and just hope that you're able to see your way out of it and figure some stuff out. But anyway, that voice is hilarious. Yeah, I know a lot of people, they get frustrated with Digger. I'll be honest with you, man. I think it's funny. I laugh at it. Hold on, what is this, man? This is a clip. Looks like they're doing some type of trade drill over at Tennessee, man. Goodness gracious. Hold on. I'm about to get out of here, guys, but I do want to see. Wait, hold on, not Gray. Sorry, Gray. Let me move you for a second. I mean, he looks the part. Dude looks the part. But let's break this down. I know Mitchell Schwartz is just tweeting about this. But to be fair, one thing that does annoy me with, okay, finish, sure. But let's just call a spade a spade. Technique from this offensive lineman is terrible, right? I mean, he's bear hugging the guy. Arms are outside. The defensive end right here actually has his hands inside and actually stands him up off initial contact, right? So, I mean, now, finish, we kind of get into a tough spot. But listen, I mean, we got leverage on the guy. We're setting the edge. This is holding number one. So this is a penalty. Yes, I'm biased because I'm an edge guy. But see, this is what ticks me off, because it's like, well, I end up getting flagged for retaliating because they're trying to do this stuff, which it does take a turn for the worse, right? Now, if this was my offensive line, I mean, I like the finish, but to me, that's just like, come on, man. Like, I mean, right here, he's beat. Like the edge guy is winning this. I mean, the edge guy even just stalemating him. Now, where the edge guy messes up is although his hand, or at least I say hand because we're not using our outside arm here. Like we should strike, just like we do with the shed. We should strike right here, extend with our inside arm, which would be our left, play with our outside arm free. And even it doesn't even have to be initial, but that shock needs to be with two hands. We do want to eventually work there. But and when you get to your shed, you'll go back to using two hands. But here, we're not using any hands here. That's where this edge guy messes up here. He then tries to get there, but now, even though we have good leverage, we're a little bit off balance, right? We only got 1 foot in the ground. We got our back toe in the ground. We're coming up off our feet. We almost recover here, but I think we're so bent back, man. We lose our balance. Anyway, I don't know why I'm breaking this down. I just saw this clip on Twitter real quick, and it sparked my. What did Mitchell Schwartz say? Barely gets any movement after contact. Then his feet end up back where they started as he gets pushed into the hole. Then he gets a holding call. The running back presses it front side. Why are we glorifying dumb reps like this? Amen. Amen. Jake, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. We'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. But low key though, he is right. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure the coaching staff know better, right? Like you can even see, like, it's not like the coach is like fired up here. The coach is about to immediately correct him. Because like he said, he's getting pressed in the hole. I mean, this guy, the edge guy won the rep, but this is the problem. This is what I hate about, no offense, I'm not saying the whole media versus former player deal, but like, this is why I hate sometimes when you do see like these clips posted and like people push these narratives like, if you're just talking about nastiness and dudes playing with an edge, sure. I mean, we could check that box here. But I mean, like, are we really going to glorify and celebrate bad technique, not winning the rep, and then also playing, undisciplined where you're going to get holding penalties, man? Like 24/7, see part 24. Yeah, of course. So that's the only thing you got to be careful of, guys. Again, not knocking people in the media, but just saying, just sometimes when people are posting stuff, like they'll post that like celebrating a clip when in reality it's really not a good rep. So I gotta be careful because you guys are gonna think I'm like anti just regular media. I promise I'm not. Swear to God I'm not. But the reason I'm thinking like this right now is did you guys see that clip with was it Jet Tamala? Like, you guys are gonna think I'm being a hater right here, but it's the last thing before I get out of here. How do you spell his last name? This is what made me think about it again, and it has nothing to do with media personnel. I'm just saying, typically, like, they'll be the ones like with platforms that are like, they'll post a clip and pushing it to fans as if like, oh man, this is really good, or this is a really good rep, or really impressive, because on the surface level it just kind of looks like that. I get it, but realistically is not. It's really bad. Where's this clip at, man? I'll show you what I'm talking about. I know this is going to sound like, here it is. Sound like I'm nitpicking here, but just give me 2 seconds. I'll explain what I'm talking about. Like, I saw this clip on Twitter. Oh! Oh! Sound. Sorry. All right, screw it. We're just gonna mute it. Like, I saw this clip of quarterback Jet Tamala. And I know people were like freaking out. To be fair, crazy dime rolling out to the opposite. He's rolling out left. He's a right-handed guy. He's rolling out left. Kind of like fakes one way, ends up doing a 360, throws in the air. And I know people are freaking out over the clip. And to be fair, I mean, the accuracy while doing all that, the circus activity is very impressive. Like, without a doubt, that is very impressive. But here's my thing, and it goes along the lines of, like, I see guys doing all these training videos. They post all these clips, like receivers nowadays, like doing these insane, get off the line drills and technique, which from a footwork perspective, sure, if you want to improve your footwork, that's one thing. But half that shit you guys will never see them do in a game. It doesn't work, number one. Number two, the receiver does not have 5 years to sit there and dance on the line of scrimmage like looking like he's like literally doing a new like dance trend on TikTok. Like it's not applicable. So sometimes like when I see this stuff, like as great as the accuracy is, I'm not trying to take away from the young man. I can't help but think like why are we doing this? Like this is at the end of the training session and he just does it for the hell of it, which is probably the case. Okay, that's one thing. But I don't know, guys. I'm just like, you'll never do this in the game. And Lord knows, if I ever saw a quarterback attempt to do this in the game, like in a live situation, take his ass out the game. Please. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being the old head, get off my grass type of guy. All right. I'm going to get out of here. I got to get some lunch. Appreciate all you guys. If you haven't already, hit that like button on the way out. All our listeners on X, I always ask this little request. If you guys have a YouTube channel and you don't mind, head on over to YouTube and just subscribe to our YouTube channel. That helps us out, man. It helps us build our platform. The more people we get over there, the more the chat continues to grow, which is always more fun for you guys, and we can continue getting the good word out on our coverage of all things football related, man. So I just appreciate you guys doing that. Real quick, last two things. Savannah Bananas make a lot of crazy plays, but I don't see any of those dudes in the MLB. It's a fair point. You know, I get it. All sports are technically entertainment, but like if you're talking about competing seriously, like guys, even if you're Johnny Manziel, I mean Johnny Manziel might try this, and there's a reason you've never seen Tom Brady. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, you've seen him maybe kind of do some little kind of crazy deal. I'm sure you've probably seen him rolling out of bounds and flicking his wrist, and sure, right, maybe. But this is, I mean, like this is literally like you're doing like an inverted 360, guys. Like, this is a little OD. This is a little OD right here. But to be fair, man, the fact that he completed that, very impressive. So I will give him credit on that one. Hope you guys have a great rest of y'all's day. We'll be back for a free-for-all Friday tomorrow right here on the Miller's Edge. Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, and of course on all of our streaming platforms, YouTube, X now, and Facebook. We'll see you guys then.